it was a podcast. People just clicked on the video last time and thought, God, this is a rambly kind of thing. This is available on Spotify if you want. But this is episode 2 of Something Blue, bi-weekly podcast so far that looks to discover interesting and discuss interesting cinema with the format of what we've watched recently, what's kind of coming out in the next while that's interesting, and our guest will bring a film of their choice, good, bad, or indifferent, to it. I'm here joined by Ronin again. If you want to say hi.
Evening. Yes, absolutely.
Man of many words. You can see why we invited him back.
But what goes up during the day?
That's true. And that lovely voice you've heard is... You get to introduce yourself now.
Oh, right, sorry. I'm Peter, Nazarinprod. I'm using my real name. It was seen down there. It's unusual for me.
I know. I never know when people use a handle, when for their like YouTube name or something, where they go, maybe they don't want anybody to know. Maybe I'm breaking fourth wall, breaking too much.
Well, my name's in most of my videos.
Yeah.
Recently, it's not been on them, but that's because I've been doing them live, but generally it's on them, so it's not a mystery.
Yeah. So if you are watching on YouTube, I'll stick the links to the channel. So if you think any of these opinions are too outlandish or need to hear more from, you know where to find them. We'll start with our Something Old, what we've been watching recently. We may as well start with a special guest because he just lifted a glass of water to his mouth, and that means that he's definitely not ready to speak. So go ahead, Peter. What have you been watching recently? What has been tickling your fancy?
Right, do you want just one just now, or you do one each?
Give us a couple. Whatever. See if you go over half an hour, I'll give you a shout.
Oh, right. What was that, Ronin's place to go over half an hour?
And indeed, yeah. He'll suck up the rest of the time.
I'm setting a challenge for him to see so you have to go over half an hour now.
I do have quite a wee bio, so.
Okay, starting with the great Northfield, which is a film from Philip Kaufman from the 1970s. It's one of the younger gang Jesse James films. This is a kind of revisionist one was made just after World Bunch. Now, it's hard to get hold of, but like lots of films that were basically made there and then lost for years and barely released, it's now getting like a Blu-ray release. It's got a Blu-ray release. I think it's King of Lorber in America has it.
Oh, very nice.
But it's a really good film. It has a fairly young Robert Duvall as Jesse James, which is unusual casting.
Yes,
and Cliff Robertson as Cole Younger. And it's basically, if you've seen Philip Kaufman films, you know he likes a kind of, at least the more lifelike and more subversive. So if you've seen Right Stuff, you'll know what to expect, where the supposed heroes are mocked slightly, and a lot of the supporting characters have a lot more life to them, and there's lots of stuff about things you wouldn't expect, like a very, very insane baseball game that goes on for ages that is really funny, because it's just like everything you would not expect to see in a baseball game in a film, you get in this sequence. And it's basically about the myth of who Younger Gang was, who Jesse James was, and the myth of these ancient like criminals and what they were actually about. They were just people who were criminals. They were good at being criminals, but they were people first and foremost. And you see like Jesse James being a bit of a psychopath, and you see the effects of the war on them, because there were people who fought for the South. So there's a lot of stuff going on about the country at the time and the conflicts that occurred. So that's a very good film to see. I'll be doing a longer video on this in a few weeks, but I still need to watch more of these films, because I've still got to rewatch the assassination of Jesse James. By Robert Ford. I've thought to rewatch that one for the video, but I've watched Long Riders on this one. But I thought I'd bring it up because I thought it was quite a good film.
Yeah, for anybody that doesn't know, Peter likes to put films together, either a good and a bad one, or just films in with the genre and then make a video about it, which makes it, a bit more entertaining. So if you've seen one of the films, you've got a gateway in and kind of then walk away with it going, I have to or have not to see the other associated films that are there.
Yeah. sometimes a warning: just do not watch this. Do not make my mistake. Do not have the curiosity that I had. This week I've done a which Moses is the best, basically. Like, which one should you watch? But yeah, no, I get curious with stuff, and I think sanity will not stop me from trying this.
Indeed.
So has any of you seen this film?
No, never seen it. Never even heard of it, to be honest, Peter, as usual. Like, Robert Duvall is one of those people that's always played a character, that's about 20 years older than he is. He's always been that kind of actor in my eyes. Yeah,
no, it's weird because Cliff Robertson plays the lead, and normally I always find him to be a fairly stiff actor. He's never usually that interesting. Mm-hmm. He's really good in this one. He's got really good dialogue, and it's like, well, why is he not like this in other films? Like, why is he usually so stiff? And this one is like, it's almost a different person. So it's very weird.
Yeah, I mean, I will be dropping a Walter Hill video shortly, as the kids might say. And obviously, the Long Riders I rewatched. And obviously, the Minnesota Raid is pretty much the end of Long Riders.
Yeah, no, but this one's basically that whole section, which you get in about 10 minutes in Long Riders, and this is the whole film. But it's good because you can go into a lot more details Long Riders couldn't go into. But yeah, no, there's I mean, basically, if I'd gotten through the other film, I would have done this week, but I never got to the last film. And it's I was like, no, I haven't got to a 3-hour film. I can't really do that this week. It's just no.
Yeah.
A 3-hour series film, no, I don't have the energy.
What else have been on your radar aside from biblical epics?
Yeah, I shouldn't have started that one. That was a mistake. I've got so many more to do still. I went on a spending spree, and it seemed interesting at the time, and now it's like, still some good ones I've still to cover, but there's some really bad ones too.
I bet you found yourself in some, unbeknownst to you, in some sort of government watch list of somebody that's become a religious fanatic or something,
Yeah, the title of my channel does not help. Really. It really doesn't help. Yeah, in case anyone doesn't know, my channel's called Nazarinprod. It's actually a reference to a Buñuel film, but people just go, "Are you religious?" No, I just like Buñuel a lot. Yeah. But so the next one is Drive, the 90s action film Drive, with Mark Mascos. And
that's the idiot did that in 4K.
Yeah,
isn't that what that one?
Yeah, I saw it recently. I had never seen it before, and it's wonderfully stupid. I mean, the plot doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't matter because the visuals are silly, the action scenes are silly, but the two main actors have good chemistry. They seem to enjoy each other's company. So no matter how silly it gets, the action scenes work, and the director's behind the film, so the director's enjoying it, and it's one of those ones that's like, this is perfect 90s action movie. Just like, it's you don't have to pay that much attention to the plot. You just get some really fun action scenes, and it's done more in the style of the Hong Kong action scenes rather than the American films at times. So they try to do some good action scenes. So they had Mark Damascus, who was a good fighter, but also has a personality to him. So it really helps that he's in the film. I mean, there's not much to say about it, but it's really fun.
How does it compare to Double Team with Dennis Rodman and Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Well, that's a great question of our times.
Ronan asking all the big questions, the one that was in everybody else's lips.
But I haven't actually seen Double Team, so I can't really compare them. But I suspect this one's better. Because this one's a lot of fun. This one is way better than it should be. There's some scenes in it, it's like, why is this scene so good? Normally these scenes are terrible. This one is like, they actually put effort into this one, and apparently we're shooting all night most of the time, and barely getting any sleep. And it's like, you can tell in the film because they were really, it was like almost like their life depending on making a good film out of a stupid plot. It's like, it's just a lot of fun. There's nothing more to it. Just go watch it if you want a big silly Friday night film. This one delivers.
Did you get it in 4K?
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
What's that?
Did you get it on the 4K or just the Blu-ray?
No, just a Blu-ray. It was like I wasn't spending a fortune on the 4K. It was like it's a 90s action movie. You don't really need it in 4K.
I was going to say there was a time and a place which we all remember where having two co-stars that sort of maybe could have got on together was enough to base an entire movie about. You know, sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Like Tango and Kite. You know, where are all those films? They're all gone now. Those buddy cop movies. They were such a good staple.
Yeah, no, it's strange, but it was quite nice to see a new one that I hadn't known before. Yeah. So, plus it was a director's cut. It's prone to have a director's cut in it. But you also got the theatrical cut in the box set as well, so it's quite nice. You get both cuts. I mean, it's
so my question about that. My question about that always is, given that you've just described it as being an entertaining kind of watch, which is what I'd heard about it as well, is anybody watching that film twice in short succession to spot the differences in the cuts? Like, really?
I never bothered. I just watched the director's cut.
The same. That's good. That's not just me then. That's absolutely fine.
Oh, you've seen it then?
No, I haven't seen it. It's on the shelf, obviously. But in 4K, you know, wasting money as many people want to do. But I did get in the sale, so, you know, I don't feel too bad.
I cannot judge you because I have Johnny Mnemonic on black and white, so I can't judge anybody.
That is true. But at least it has really pretty artwork. But isn't that the curse, Peter, though, when you think to yourself, God, I could pick it up and make for good content? That's honestly the YouTuber's curse.
Well, no, that's just an excuse for me to watch a film I wanted to watch. Yeah. Like, I don't really buy stuff for content. I want to watch something. This will make a good video if it's interestingly entertaining in some way. But I probably just want to see it anyway. I just have the excuse of it's for content. Yeah. Whenever someone asks me about it, it's like, why'd you buy it? I say, oh, it's for the content. And really, I'm lying my head off. So I want to see me watch it.
This is what's a terrible idea, to like start series. You know, you go, I'm going to do a series on, and then you get to a certain point, you're like, this is a film I don't actually want to watch at this point, or can I find a reason to exclude? And it's like, no, we're in for a penny and for a pound. Let's go.
Yeah, when you do a 30-part director series.
Indeed.
What's that?
When you do 30-part director series.
When I think Joseph Losey, was that not 24 parts?
That was 28.
Oh, no. 28, yeah.
I think 28. I'm still the last two you watched.
Ray,
I feel I was with you for most of that one, just by watching them.
But then, if I hadn't done that series, I would have never seen Boom! ! Which is one of the greatest films I've ever seen. I totally agree with John Waters.
Yeah. I think you've discovered the great joy in watching strange Richard Burton films.
Yeah, it's completely mad. I mean, the set of the house, Liz Taylor and Richard Burton were so drunk they actually offered to buy it, thinking it was a real house, and of course it only had like 2 walls or whatever. They were that drunk.
I do like the way you number your parts, Ronan, because it's like almost like you're letting us feel your pain at times. Part number 26, just in case you weren't sure how committed I was to this. We're part 26.
There's obviously some films on the list that you kind of go, not really looking forward to this, but then you get surprised, and that's the joy of it.
Like, but yeah, I'm more random though. So I know I don't number them because I watch them in weird orders anyway. So it's like I've got 2 Tarkovskys to watch still. I just do it randomly. One where I feel like watching. I watch this one, I watch that one, and I find the insanity helps.
So pick us one more, Peter, from your list recently.
All right, I'll go for Detroit Rock City.
Oh, go for it.
Which is a film I only saw a few weeks ago. I've never seen this one before because it looks frankly stupid.
Well, I mean,
it is stupid.
It's a Kiss song, isn't it?
It's stupid, and the actors really go for it. And it's like, this is fun. This is a fun teenage movie about these 4 idiots who are Kiss fans trying to enter a Kiss concert, and that's the whole plot, and all the weird things they get up to, and that's it. That's all it's about. But it's charming within that structure. It's just like, oh, this is really enjoyable. I mean, none of the jokes are amazing jokes, but they're done with enthusiasm with actors, and it's like, I can get behind this. They seem to be actually trying to make something fun. And I like some of the actors in it, and it's like, it's just enjoyable. It's just there's nothing. You don't have to defend any way beyond. It's enjoyable. It's just fun. It's something you need that just fun.
Yeah. There's a lot of value in a film that's enjoyable, strangely enough.
Yeah, it's funny that you should talk about that, because I mean, after watching a certain other person on the screen's video last night, I of course went on the Vinegar Syndrome website, and the catalog have a collection of films by Adam Rifkin, who obviously directed Detroit Rock City.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, I don't know how much I'd enjoy that, but it's that idea of fun. Nearly all the reviews below it are like you should know what you're getting here. You're going in. You're not going for the highest of highbrow stuff. You're going in to have a bit of fun. And this is a collection of those films. And you, after talking myself out of it last night, you may have talked me back into it.
I'm only going from one film. One film was fun.
Like, I need the merest prodding to kind of make some poor decisions. This is...
Yeah, it was just basically the thing that prodded me into watching it was I liked some of the actors in it. And I was like, okay, I watched it. Because it was made when we were pretty young, and it was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And it was enjoyable. I mean, I've no great regard for the script or anything. It's enjoyable. It's silly. It delivers exactly what you want from this film, and it doesn't insult you. Really.
I mean, looking at the cast of actors in it, I hadn't actually realised you were that much of a Ron Jeremy fan, but there you go.
Yeah, well, it's the things you need to get you through the day.
For context, Edward Furlong, Melanie Linsky, Natasha Lyonne, they're Sam Huntington. There are enjoyable actors in there, aside from Ron Jeremy, obviously.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. They're all giving it their all. They're actually making an effort. So it's like they seem to be enjoying themselves. So it's like, yeah. And even the silly stuff to work.
Of all the three films you mentioned, that's the one that I'm kind of going. That's the one I'd quite like to watch tonight. That's the one that'll look at and kind of go. That's a nice mix from what I have just finished watching not that long ago. But before we get back to
Ronin Jeremy completist.
I mean, he's obviously there for his method acting. That's the case may be. So Ronin, what have you got?
Well, just to prove that I don't always just watch films that I make videos of, I did finally see The French Dispatch with Wes Anderson, which I absolutely loved. If you dislike Wes Anderson, it's got everything in it that you dislike. And if you like Wes Anderson, it's got everything that you like about Wes Anderson in it.
And if you want a video on it, I've made a video on it. It's just...
Yeah. That was quite a while ago, but
I recommend the film. I made a video, not him.
I end up catching up eventually. It's just absolutely wonderful. For some reason, Adrian Brody really knows how to do like a Wes Anderson film, even if sometimes in other films it gets lost. It's just an absolute joy, little anthology film linked. It's just, again, to prove that I don't always make videos of the films I watch. I do watch films that I enjoy without doing a video, because I couldn't compete with Peter's video on it, so I didn't bother.
Right, sure. Try and make it less sarcastic next time.
Yeah, so I might get to Asteroid City in maybe 2024 or something.
Yeah, no, I wasn't thinking Asteroid City, but I think French Dispatch is really something. Especially the artist in jail thing. That was
that was absolutely brilliant.
There is... I know a lot of people dislike French Dispatch, which, as Anderson fans, which I find unbelievable, because to me it's the most Wes Anderson movie that there is. It is literally one of those things that was made for home video, because you should be able to just freeze the screen at any time, and you have a perfect picture for your wall on your TV. Like the attention to detail in each like vignette that he has is just off the charts. I remember just sitting for the first 5 minutes and going, "Oh my god, I just got to stop looking as much as I'm doing, because I'm actually going to drive myself crazy for the sake of this." But it does a much better. Like, as much as I like Asteroid City, it does a much better job of using its guest stars in place an awful lot better. Like Bill Murray's excellent in it. Adrian Brody's obviously brilliant. Benicio del Toro's outstanding in it. I like French Dispatch a lot.
Yeah, I think it's obviously a recency bias, but I think it is one of my favourites. Obviously, I need to rewatch it because I've only watched it once, but it was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, another one that Anderson made that I like a lot that no one else likes is Moonrise Kingdom, and everyone seems to like.
Moonrise Kingdom's great.
For me, Anderson hasn't really done a bad movie. Like even Asteroid City, I quite liked. For its inability to let anybody in that's watching it. It kind of is what it is, you know. It's just kind of like everybody's trying to make sense of it walking out of the cinema, and I was like, "Stop it! What are you doing? You're taking all the fun out of that movie."
Yeah, it's a good film. It's just like we've seen someone do a lot better. You have to say, look, it's not his best thing. Just like there's a lot of good things in it. Just doesn't come together the same way.
Yeah, love Anderson.
French Dispatch is wonderful. I think it's definitely up there for me.
Yeah, love it. So, like, that's one film from the past 5 years. I mean, you couldn't have a second.
I know, it's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. No, I'm going to go to the 60s now. This is a 3-for-1. If you're a fan of Barbara Steele, this is a pretty wonderful set. You get Nightmare Castle, Castle of Blood, and Terror Creatures from the Grave, which I believe would obviously be the AIP title. Because Terror Creatures from the Grave is not very Italian. Sumptuous black and white cinematography. Pretty much similar plots for all three films. But Barbara Steele, those eyes and cheekbones are just absolutely fantastic. And again, there's something about Italian 60s black and white cinematography that is just so spot on. And they're a lot of fun. None of them are masterpieces or anything, but they're all a lot of fun. And again, Barbara Steele's just fantastic. There's one where she plays two characters, which is even better.
Oh, I love that.
Double the Steel.
Yeah.
That should have been a tagline for a 90s action film.
I mean, if somebody wants to take it now, I mean, we'll know where the copyright lands. Yeah. Where's or who did that release?
That is Severin, but it's multi-region.
What was it? What was the release?
Severin.
Who?
Severin.
All right.
It's
like it's Severin.
Nice.
I'm like, there's no such thing as Severin.
Sorry, I wasn't enunciating properly.
Lucky number 7.
Severin. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, they're absolutely wonderful. One of them is Antonio Margheriti. Massimo Pipilio did one, and Enzo Barboni. Sorry, that's the cinematography by Enzo Barboni. Some really good extras as well. There's a great interview with Barbara Steele about how she talks about she did have a contract in Hollywood for 7 years, but she decided to walk away from it because it was getting to the point that she needed permission to go to the toilet. So she just told them to bugger off and went to Europe. So it's a great interview.
We've all had jobs like that. I don't think I quite necessarily had the gumption to go to Europe and say, "To hell with you, the better toilets there."
Yeah, and she talks about knowing that Cronenberg was going to have a great career as soon as she worked on Shivers with him. So.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so you get 3 for the price of 1, even though it was about 20 odd quid. But
well, this is getting your value from it. And black and white Italian movies, I mean, haven't seen enough of them.
You can't beat that.
No, certainly not.
And then finally, just obviously one that I have done a video on because I have to. It's Death Crocodile. Surprise, surprise! This is Sample.
I don't believe it.
Which is absolutely amazing. Again, by the Russian Disney. Possibly without the anti-Semitism. Alexander Pushko, just absolutely gorgeous, about a magic rock that gives you flour, salt, and money. Witchcraft and just absolute gorgeous, insane colour cinematography.
Dear me.
So good.
For those that haven't been following along, turns out Ronin's now a bit of a slipcover whore. You know, that's just 2 years now.
Only for Death Crocodile. Only for Death Crocodile, because they're just so gorgeous.
Are you going to let him call you a whore?
I've been called worse.
I mean, it's all context.
For slipcovers.
Podcast come from hell. This is coming from hell.
Yes. Don't press that
button. Show off my... Yeah. Let me press the button to take you to hell. you want me to do the whole...
Pandora's Box isn't out for another couple of months,
coming
I'm just going to say. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it is. So, yeah, you're coming to the end of your Deaf Crocodile
We're
kind
now
of...
going to hell. We're now going to hell.
God.
So this comes from hell. This presentation
Sponsored
comes from hell
by...
now. Yeah.
Some people might listen to this in audio and they'll be going, what the hell is he talking about? There's a box. But you press the button, and it's now not a box anymore. It's not a box. Carnage is ensued.
Yes.
The
thing to get on eBay.
Yes.
My cousin sent me a link to this, and I was like, I need this straight away.
I want to push the boundaries.
You do look at that. I haven't got one of those.
I need to get one as well.
Yeah, dude. And you were just talking about, somebody wanting paying a little extra for the slipcover, and that's the kind of the other choices you'll make. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, believe it or not, I've actually got this box, the Hellraiser and DVD trilogy thing. We actually have the box, and the one they did years ago was just the box thing, and no disc inside it. I actually have that.
Yeah. It's funny because now the Scarlet box is going way down in price, and that used to be the most expensive item in eBay, just about. And now, of course, it's really cheap because the 4K boxes are coming out.
Yeah, which has the work print of Hellraiser 4. That's what we're going for.
Yep. I do love Hellraiser 4 despite its problems.
Yeah.
People have lost bodily functions for less, That's all I'll say. Not run out of Deaf Crocodile movies, though.
I've got 3 coming from Deaf Crocodile, and I've got 1 coming from eBay because I managed to find a Pied Piper with a slipcover.
Oh my god!
And it was relatively cheap-ish. Because the ones on their site don't have the slipcover, so I managed to find one on eBay for a slipcover.
Yeah,
which is a stop motion animation. I mean, come on, about the Pied Piper.
Do you want to see who's got me to buy?
Oh, sure, why not?
Yeah, since we're on about buying stupid stuff at stupid prices, here we go. Dream House or Dream Home.
Dream Home.
Network out of print. So here's how good it was. So 20 quid for this film. It's now out of print. Because I was going to buy it next time there's a sale, and then the whole company went kaput. And then Hoos was saying, "This is a great film." So look what it cost me, 20 quid to buy this film. I was going to buy next time there was a sale on.
Yeah, I got it for a $5 years ago.
Yeah, shut up.
Without a slipcover.
I was going to say, I bought it for a $5. I could sell you it for $4.
Well, it's very good.
Right, I'll go for a couple of my recent ones. I've been stuck in, those times when you look on your shelves and you just feel the unbearable weight of, oh my god, I have so much stuff to watch. I've like nearly got paralysis about it. I can't watch any of it. I've just have to bury my head in shame. I mean, I'm not insane enough to just relieve that by thinking, do you know what I need to do? Create a whole series of videos where I show people exactly what I haven't watched. I think that would just tip me over the edge, but I'm glad other people do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hint.
Well, no more because they're all boxed. I can hide it now.
The continuity keeps messing me up because sometimes in your video there's discs behind you and then there's not, and it's like, oh my god, this thing thinks crazy. But
sometimes his hair's longer and sometimes it's shorter. Sometimes he's a beard. Sometimes it's like he's crazy, man.
What year is this recorded?
Sometimes he was a mask.
Coming to you from the future.
Indeed. So we'll start with a Vinegar Syndrome partner label, since you started on that track, and this is Canadian International Pictures, and this is Canis Taki. Oh, which is just there.
That problem as well.
Oh dear. Which is the story of the rebellious Canadians. They're well known for their fighting and not standing for any nonsense. Well, it's basically the story of a town that decided to build a golf course and took the land of the Mohawk people for their golf course, essentially, and the Mohawk people said enough was enough, quite rightly, and protested and held up the roads and became a gun standoff, and unbelievably so. This was in 1990, and it's like a weird look of life just before the mobile phone hit. You know, of how they used to control the message and all of that kind of stuff, and how all of that's now changed. Insofar as this happened nowadays, the message would be very different, but kind of harrowing in some places, very serious in other ones. But recent enough history that it's like, oh my god, that did we really let that happen? I can't say it's really enjoyable because it's a documentary about a standoff of people that have been stolen their land, and actually puts it in context. There's quite a nice bit in it where it actually gives the struggle context going back hundreds of years, and this is actually how these people have been relocated and treated over a couple of hundred years before this standoff and what led to it. But I don't know about you, but documentaries are not the type of thing I see somebody else talk about and go, oh god, I have to have that. But when you stick on a good documentary, it's like, oh, I should watch more documentaries. I should watch those kind of things, but they're very rarely the things that come in. Yeah, exactly right. But they're very rarely the things that you see and somebody go, oh God, did you see the box set that documentary's in? That's something I've really got to have. Like, it doesn't have nice things that you can press buttons on and change it. And, you know, they're not doing that for documentaries, but can occasionally be very...
I think documentaries, you actually do videos on them. No one watches them.
Yeah.
I know. I did one with Dear Zachary, which is an amazing documentary. No bugger watched the video at all. It was like, oh, wow.
And I'm guilty of that as well. Like, there's no doubt. Like, documentaries don't get the juices flowing, but when the credits are rolling on one, you go, Jesus, that was good.
Yeah. I've got the perfect cure for you. I've done a documentary video this week called This Is Gwar. You know,
was that what Gwar was? I was wondering what Gwar was. I didn't get to watch that because I watched the Dillinger one.
I haven't watched that one yet.
Yeah. I was going, what is Gwar?
This is Gwar.
Right. Peter plugging more of his stuff there.
I'm right. I have to. It's got 2 views. It's like everyone but this film. It's like, oh, wow, no one cares at all this one. At all.
Surely there's more fans out there.
It's always bizarrely funny. Do you ever get that when you do something, you put effort into something, and nobody cares? And it's like, it becomes kind of funny after a while.
Pretty much every video I do. So.
Oh, it'll only be funny if somebody will have replied to you and gone, I seen this movie a while ago, it was called Gwar, but nobody's talking about it. And you're like, I got them made the video. The one video there is on it. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
That's my channel, basically. I have so many films that probably only put a video on them.
That's true.
We are niche.
The niche of the niche. Oh, there you go. Same joke. Some joke made. Second one I'm going to talk about, I actually don't have on me because I rented it. It's the French Hitchcock film, The I Confess. Has anybody seen I Confess?
Yes.
With Montgomery Clift. And it's very bloody good. I went in with very low expectations, thinking it was going to be very, you know, sort of Hitchcockian, obviously, but, you know, this idea that at the start of the movie, a priest, Montgomery Clift, gets told that a man has committed murder, but because of his oath, he cannot tell anybody that he knows, and ensues the murder investigation, which he ends up being in the middle of, but where he obviously knows something that he's not telling, and therefore becomes a suspect. And pretty good, although I believe that they wanted to change the ending, or Hitchcock wanted a different ending than the one that they got, etc. Which makes it quite interesting in its own right. And it was nice to see John Waters talking about it in special features, which was quite nice in its own right as well. So
yeah, I should say that I've seen it so long ago that I might as well have not seen it. You know, that kind of film where you saw it when you were like 12 or something, and it's all gone. You've seen pictures, like, I've seen that film, I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah, so that's nearly every...
I was just going to say, I have often thought about picking up the 2 for $15 because it's the premium collection.
It is premium collection,
obviously haven't. So.
Yeah. But I was going to say, that's pretty much every Hitchcock film to me in some ways. Like, a lot of us have seen those so many years ago, and you're like, well, I've obviously seen The Birds. Could I tell you in any great detail what The Birds is about or Psycho about? Even though I've seen Psycho again quite recently, I've kind of been going through those 4K box sets that I've gone. It's nearly like a first-time watch for some of those things. You get to certain scenes, you go, oh, I know what's going to happen now. Yes, this is coming back to me. But for the rest of the time, it's like, yeah, this could be a new movie in some form. And then the last one I'll talk about was, again, looking at my collection and going, I mean, I have all these damn box sets, ones that I bought this month. last month, the month before, and they all still have the shrink wrap on them. So I thought I'll go into the one that everybody seems to be really talking about, which is the Enter the Video Store one from Arrow a while ago, which is the Empire collection of films. And apparently this is the last one, but depending on how you open the box, it's the first one for me. It was Robot Jocks.
Stuart Gordon one.
Yeah. Stuart Gordon, indeed. So Robot Jocks, which is basically Pacific Rim without any money, but is somehow, like, for no money, it's sort of aged even better than Pacific Rim, if that makes sense, because it very clearly.
Blasphemy.
I'm not saying Pacific Rim is a bad movie. I'm just saying when films rely on CGI and films have no CGI, you know that it's never trying to be that. It just sort of all those things age better for me. It's the same as you're talking about AIP. A lot of those AIP pictures as well kind of fall into the same bit, like Galaxy of Terror. I could watch endlessly now, even though I know the sets are made of styrofoam Burger King trays, burger things.
You mean this Galaxy of Terror?
The classic Galaxy of Terror, indeed.
Yes.
I mean,
I just bought the movie recently, so
it's another. Yeah. So Robot Jocks falls in that same thing. It's like this weird dystopian future where they battle over territory by having two mega robots fight for the territory, and whoever wins the robot fight gets to own like Alaska, gets to own like Connecticut, and they all turn up with like, like in the A-Team where they would kind of get trapped inside the garage with the paint cans and the old beat up car, and then out would come the tank with special guns or something. It's a bit like that. Every time they fight, they have a special improvement that it's top secret, and we'll use this to win the fight. It's dumb and stupid, and it's kind of amazingly brilliant in some ways because there's a crap load of stop motion on it, and the stop motion's done really, really well. I wouldn't say the acting's anywhere near the level of Pacific Rim. Even let's say that Pacific Rim has good quality performances in it.
I should say Pacific Rim is one of my kind of comfort movies. You know what I mean? It's one of those ones you chuck on every so often because it's like, Pacific Rim. It's one of those ones you go back to.
I like Pacific Rim.
I don't have in the collection.
Yeah,
but not the sequel.
It's watchable enough. I've seen it.
Uprising.
Yeah. That's awful. That one.
Not on the favourites list, Peter. No.
What?
But Uprising's not on the favourites list. It's not in the comfort watches. No.
No, not even remotely.
Robot Jocks does have a moving ending, though.
Oh, I mean, they talk about that on the disc quite a lot. It was the fact that actually, if the main actor Gary, someone I can't remember his name, he said that if he had realized how much power he had as a lead actor, he would have demanded that they didn't change the ending at the end, because the ending I didn't actually realize, but Robot Jocks was written by Joe Haldeman, who wrote The Forever War, who was very classic anti-war science fiction writer, and so he kind of crammed in an anti-war ending to the end of this, which is totally like it's dumb, but again, because the whole thing's kind of dumb by today's standards, it's sort of perfect in some way. If they had went for the expected ending or the ending that you wanted to see, you're like, I've seen that end a lot, but in this case they go for something completely different. It makes it another reason to watch it, and so I'll be able to watch this, then Detroit Rock City, and then the rest of this box set, I would imagine, will be the next protocol. But a lot of fun.
I mean, my standout of the box set was Dolls with Stuart Gordon. That's so good.
I've got Dolls, but I haven't watched it. I'm a massive Reanimator fan, and From Beyond's great. And you should point out Space Truckers is a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
There's a whole 80s, 90s run of films there that we'll never see the like of ever again. But that video store area has got so many fans for a lot of reasons. Back in the days
when you
can
forget Fortress. Another Stuart Gordon film.
I know Stuart Gordon was a hell of a guy. Plus, there's like a documentary on the stop motion guy that did this. There's David Allen, who apparently when he was doing his daily rushes and sending stuff through to the studio, he would make a copy in black and white just because he was afraid that nobody would ever pay him at the end of the day. So he says, "Do you want it in color? Just pay me the money." But he always used to do it in black and white because he was hard scared of the likes of Empire withholding what little cash that they had.
Yeah,
that seems legitimately logical.
Yeah, for sure. That's a man that knew what he was doing, indeed.
Yeah.
It's a young genius.
So, yeah, indeed. So there's more recent watches. A very bunched right up between the three of us, for sure. I think we've done the history of...
Another insane buy I've just made since Rodin's talked about his insane buys. I've done another insane buy. This is Rapa Nui on DVD for lots of money imported from America. There will be a video on it soon. What?
Jason Scott Lee. It's the first name on is Jason Scott Lee. Is that right?
Yep. And Severin Films and Isa Morales. It's from Kevin Reynolds, who directed The Beast and Fandango and Waterworld. So it's this big epic that no one's went to see, that massively bombed all Easter Island, and I really like it, but no one else likes it. So I spent way too much money on it, and there will be a video, but it was like one of those ones. That was like, I should point, since Ronin's been pointing out all his sins, I should point a few more minds.
What's the chronology of that? Is that after Waterworld or
before? It's filmed before Waterworld.
I thought it was going to be one of those deals where you were buying something else and says it's 20 quid, but we'll give it to you for a tenner if you take this film as well.
No, I bought it full price. I bought it from America. So I wanted it.
Warner Archive.
I know, and it's like, it's one of those things. Why can't you just have it in Blu-ray? And then you look at the copy, and it's like, it's basically DVD quality.
They're waiting on you making the review video first till it gets its fans, and then
I'm gonna have to.
Blu-ray.
Yeah,
Blu-ray
those 3 views will really push it forward. I'll get for this one.
It's all about who the 3 people are, Peter. That's the only thing that matters. The right 3 people.
I don't think Ronin's that important.
Okay, I'll say who the third one is.
Just for
carnage is happening here. Honor carnage.
For reasons. Obviously, the Zalaski box set was out today, I believe. I still need to pick it up. But I did watch Cosmos, which is his last film of 2015.
I've got it. I haven't watched it.
Yeah, and I didn't like it. Moving on.
Well, that's a pretty good link for something new. Things that are coming up and out at the moment, because as you say, Zalewski's set was out today. I hear some people love it. Some people are a bit disappointed with it or otherwise, but I think that's him as a filmmaker. Also out today, a couple of Arrow 4K upgrades. Anybody do Arrow 4K upgrades when you have the other ones?
I did Tremors, obviously the David Cronenberg stuff.
Well, Time Bandits and Last House on the Left are the 2 from today.
No, I would buy Time Bandits when it's in sale, maybe, but not just now.
I've done it as well, 4K.
I have. I mean,
the Last House on the Left, I don't care. I don't like Last House on the Left.
So Last House on the Left, the extras on the set are better than the actual film. For me.
Yeah, it's like...
Go watch Virgin Spring instead.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Be a Bergman purist.
But the art house fan. I feel like I'm ratting on Time Bandits when I say I'm not going to pick it up in 4K. Like, it's a fine film, but I don't feel like I need to see it in 4K. I think that's it's a very enjoyable film in its own right.
Same with Weird Science in 4K. Whenever was that out already?
Yes, it is. It is.
It's like, you don't need Weird Science in 4K. But
I mean, at least I can see a reason why Weird Science would want to be seen in 4K, even if
I last saw that in video and I have no desire to watch it again. It's like, I just don't care. It's one of those things I don't care about, like, at all.
Quite like Weird Science, but again, I already own a nice slipcover version of Blu-ray. I feel like that's the kind of fidelity that I think that's the kind of level of fidelity I'm happy with.
It's one of those films that never connected, so I just was like, well, I'm going to leave it.
Yeah. 88 have Postman Fights Back, Double Impact, more Jean-Claude Van Damme, which I have to say I'm ashamed. I feel it because I've got the rest of the Jean-Claude Van Damme ones. I need to pick up Double Impact. Again, that kind of dumb fun. I know exactly what I'm getting thing, and the man does great. Again, there's that playing two characters at once. It's quite possible that Van Damme is the person that did it most and better than anybody else. He's got a few, indeed. He does.
Okay, well, Michael Keaton did it at the same time. He did 4 of them at the same time for Multiplicity.
That's right, Multiplicity. Yeah.
And he was better than Van Damme at it. So
I mean,
I don't want to use that
fair.
logic on you. It's like he's Van Damme's not the best
fair.
at it. What about Jeremy Irons and Dead Ringers?
Yeah, well, yes, obviously. But again, one
quality
film.
wise,
Yeah,
for cheesy twins, yes. You want to go pure cheese, yes.
I mean, given that Van Damme's films are all of, I would say, a certain quality. You know.
Yeah.
The fact that he went back to the well, they went, let's do another one with you being two people. Two brothers, two twins.
Yeah.
That's it.
And let's add homoeroticism to it so that it gets really confusing and weird.
I mean, if it sounds like you're pitching another Jean-Claude Van Damme film there, you've got a script ready for. You know?
I don't think so. What's a Postman Fights Back? Is that a Jackie Chan one? Or
yeah, it's probably a Chow Yun Fat, one of those.
All right.
Ones, because that seems to be the direction that the are going at the moment. I could have completely made that up, of course, at the moment, but it's one of those Asia.
Or Ringo Lam, Sam Allen.
Ringo Lam. I do like a bit of Ringo Lam, I have to say.
I bought Emperor's Millionaire's Express.
Millionaire's Express, yep.
I got that one and Kamikaze Girl from Terracotta.
Mm-hmm.
So they were both, so
Millionaire's Express, pretty good.
Yeah, I kind of.
And then also from Indicator, arriving in my house tomorrow, by all accounts, I think, is Night of the Hunter, Rape of the Vampire, in 4K. Jean Roland. Oh, Thomas Crownaffer. Sorry, how could I forget Thomas Crownaffer?
Which one was it?
It's the new one. This says Pierce Brosnan.
I saw that I saw that during the Edinburgh Film Festival one year. It was in between all these dress-on films. I went to see that one just after a break.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
The one, it's well made. It's like for a remake. It's honestly, I like that one better than the original. To be honest, I prefer the remake to the original. That one.
I haven't seen either.
Yeah, no, the original was kind of dated, but the remake's a lot of fun. I didn't like Pierce Brosnan that much, but I like this one better than the original.
I mean, I hate to say, he's quite well cast in this, in some ways, because he is a kind of dislikable, smarmy, charming. There's not many people can pull off that kind of swathe in the one film, of emotions. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So Night of the Hunter, is that the original, the Charles Lawton one? Or was that
No, Night of the Hunter is it's Jean Roland, I think, isn't it? He says before he makes an absolute fool of himself.
Not Night of the Hunted?
Oh, Night of the Hunted, it is. Did I see? My brain was on the Lawton when I was obviously typing out my notes.
Yeah, because I bought the 4K of the Lawton one last month.
Oh, from Kino?
From Kino, yep. I was I just indulged a little bit into that, so I'm buying it.
So Night of the Hunted,
just in time for Criterion UK to announce it.
I don't think so. Well, maybe so, because they do have the license for it, I suppose. On that note, since our last episode, when we predicted what may happen with Criterion, they didn't wait a week, and they thought those guys are right. Let's make it happen. Criterion's coming back in the UK.
Listen to you too. Yeah.
I mean, coincidences I do not believe in, right? I just think they just needed that final nudge. They were like, we need the news cycle to come round and kind of, let's hit the noise. And then that episode dropped with its 2-minute average view time, right? And then they thought, let's come out. Let's announce.
The waited ones have imported After Hours in 4K.
Released
in the UK.
So with After Hours in 4K coming, which I own, you own, oh dear. Although, to be fair, I didn't pay much more than what it's going to get released for here anyway. Fair, so I was quite happy enough for that. And then Freaks is coming out, obviously, with the Todd Browning sets coming out as well, which I think is pretty good.
Yeah, I don't mind that one. that looks too good to pass
Because
up.
remember, there was a time a few years ago which was pretty much you'll never see Freaks on a Blu-ray. But
That's right. So there's hope for the Devils yet. Hope for the Devils yet.
Hopefully.
Probably we'll be dead by the time it happens, but it'll probably happen at some stage. It'll have the most super duper magnificent box set that you've ever seen.
And if you want a good video on the Devils, I've just made one a few weeks ago. Part of my Oliver Reed week.
Oh dear. But in
You
great
had to
news
be
for
meant, I could not do that.
Well, if you hadn't made a video on the Devils, like it would have been a missing a gap in your film watching or video over, you know.
Yeah,
Chris is setting them up and you're knocking them down. So
indeed, that is true. That is true. So September 4th is a day that all collectors will rejoice.
you forgot one. Rape the Vampire.
Did I not say the two of them? So Night of the Hunted and Rape of the Vampire. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's as well you're here, Peter. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I was actually looking forward to bringing this one up because it's such a bizarre title. It was like, wow, that's well, brave title these days.
Fantastic so far.
I have this year got a rather questionable set of releases in lovely slipcovers with titles. Yes, indeed. They go along with when the Rape of the Vampire arrives here. I got Killer Condom last week, and I also got Infernal Rapist earlier on in the year. I mean, this is. I might just group them together on the shelf just in case somebody misses them. You know, one of my kids.
Yeah. I don't feel so bad now about anything I've said in this video. I feel pretty good now. It's like I don't know how you can mock me for Rapa Nui now after that confession.
We all know that, but me mocking other people's me mocking myself. that's where it goes. It all swings around.
Sit down as a family and watch Killer Condom. Class.
I hear it's quite good. I hear it is. People say in general it's a very good movie. It's the case sitting beside the TV when somebody else walks in. You know, the friends and neighbours, my mum and dad going, What are you watching? Just watching. Thought I don't know how to kill. Thought I'd watch a bit of Killer Condom. You know, what can I say? But yes, Rape of the Vampire indeed, with some magnificent artwork on the cover of that. So it's a beauty.
Yeah, Shiver of the Vampire was just amazing, and the artwork on that one is incredible.
Yeah, Shiver of the Vampires was genuinely very good, with one of the best soundtracks ever.
Yeah,
big fan. Are we good for September the 4th now? Oh yes. September the 4th has got not much released apart from some 4K re-releases. Two of them coming in. Do you know those big Mahusive film vault things that they're doing for like 40 or 50 quid?
Yeah.
With classic movies they've done like
Goodfellas and
2001. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. Well, they've got Jaws and Shawshank Redemption coming to this month. I do not need another copy of Jaws. I have to say, I love Jaws. Jaws. Before we went on a cruise this year with the family and we were staying overnight in Odell, I made the family watch Jaws. I just thought it was very apt. And Shawshank Redemption is obviously a great film. Mad Max Road Warrior.
Okay, I've got to show you here.
Oh, here he goes.
That wasn't set up in any way.
No, it's no way. It was a set up. Road Warrior, every one of them, 4K. Beautiful steel books. I just wanted to show
those,
off because I'm so proud of it.
Those foam insert steelbook things are beautiful.
I know.
Those sets. Probably beautiful. It's pity about the films, but...
What? I've got Godzilla too.
You got Godzilla as well. Monsterverse, yeah.
Godzilla and Mad Max. They're the only two I want. The rest I couldn't care less about the other ones. Just those two are the ones I would see with the one.
So not a Transformers one as well.
I know, it's like, who'd put on that?
There's Transformers, there's Indiana Jones, and there's Back to the Future. I think there's one for each of them, I think. Anyway.
Oh,
but I actually do think the Monsterverse one is the prettiest of them all. I think it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I blame Peter because I ended up getting it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
I can think of... I can't imagine a person less likely to enjoy the Monsterverse films than you were. Like, I have to be honest.
I love Skull Island. I think it's great, daft fun.
Okay, that it certainly is. It definitely is. I went to see actually Godzilla versus No, it wasn't Godzilla vs. Kong. It was King of the Monsters, was it? I went to see in the cinema, and it was honestly, my eyeballs nearly popped out. It was the brightest film I have ever seen in my entire life. It was brighter than Independence Day when I sat and watched that in the front row with my neck craning up once. I was nearly blinded.
Yeah.
Fast X and Sisu. I mean, not a Fast fan.
Yeah.
You've probably seen it in the cinema, did you, Peter?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I've actually got that one in digital.
Digital?
The guilty pleasures. I mean, they're silly, but it's like every so often you chuck one on, it's like it does the job. If you're feeling like I can't be bothered thinking, it's like it's that kind of film. So you just enjoy them for what they are. We all have them. Some of them are condoms.
That's
I'll
true.
wait for
That is true.
Sisu to get to $6.99 probably.
This is good fun. It's a lot of fun.
Cool. Then September 11th is like, oh my god. Go for it, sorry, Ronan.
I was just going to say some films are $6.99. You wait once they come out $14.99, then you just wait until they're $6.99 or $5.99.
Yeah, I know what you mean. There's certain films that I do that with as well. It's just other ones are.
I want to see them, but I can wait.
Yeah,
for sure. Now, September the 11th is the day where everything comes out. So if you've got a kidney to sell, it's the day. It's the second Sight Day with It Follows and Crimes of the Future. We talked about it very briefly on last episode. Yeah. I mean, they already own Crimes of the Future. I'm going to buy another copy of it for sure.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I've got it 4K already, and it's like, I think I've already bought this film twice, and it's like, can we must
this will be the third time I bought it. So.
It's like, I'm not sure I need the second sight one, to be honest. I might buy it later for the extras. I'm not sure if I need the new one. And that thing is like, I've other things to buy that month. It's just like I can't afford it.
Yeah, like Cutthroat Island in 4K.
Oh,
hey, don't walk. You know you want it.
I've never actually seen it, so maybe it's a good opportunity to see in 4K. The film
no better opportunity. Full price, indeed.
Maybe it's just waiting to be discovered in 4K. So.
It's like the 1970 King Kong. Yeah, indeed. Then BFI have got the release
4K.
of the year.
I want 4K. That one.
Oh, right.
I definitely want it. It's so ridiculous. I want it. I saw it as a kid, and I've sort of nostalgia for that one.
Yeah, I used to have this thing though that Studio Canal 4K releases were only the very best of the best, and I was like, I'll pick up anything they release because they really are curating a very strong line of 4K releases and giving them the best treatment. And then we got King Kong 4K, and it was like from 78, and I was like, I mean,
what you try to say about King Kong 78? Really?
I mean,
spit it out.
It's fine. It's fine. It fits the time in which it came out very well.
Rim, now King Kong 78. Wrong with you?
Savage.
I mean, you've made me shine a mirror on myself there that I didn't know needed shone on me. But it's a lens. I feel exposed, and I don't like what I see.
Yeah.
BFI, I've got Gregory's Guard 4K, which I have to say is probably the release of the year for me in some ways. I fucking love.
Picking that up.
And it's a film I haven't seen in years. But
I've seen that film so many times now. It's like
I haven't seen it in years. I bit like most Braveheart stuff.
It's one of those films that's kind of burned in your mind.
If it's Scottish teenager, you watched it like
20 years
repeatedly for your teenage years. You've seen it so many times. It's like I can not see it for 20 years and still know it off by heart.
But it somehow gets funnier as the years go on. Like it should just be for a certain time and a place of when we were teenagers, and then it would be like juvenile or something. But Forsyth just has this way of writing. I don't know. It's just amazing.
Yeah. Bizarrely, I met Bill Forsyth just before he started shooting the sequel.
Ah. Is that what happened?
Name dropping as well.
Was it Meeting Me with the thing that destroyed the sequel, you think?
Here's his signature.
I just happen to have all this stuff lying about. Here's a cutting of his hair. Day in the Country is out as well from Mr. Renmore. Yeah. Indeed, with some of the most controversial artwork for some reason. I really like the artwork for that and Riddles the Game, but there you go.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of it well as a BFI. It's quite good, but also expensive.
It is. No more expensive than some of the other stuff. What isn't actually that expensive is this Black Label release of The Following. It's £17. I was really surprised. I expected that to be like, let's roll out the red carpet for a Nolan film. Oppenheimer's just released. Let's make it 40 quid. Well, I know they are, but at least Memento is a bit of a tempo release. So a lot of people love Memento. I mean, I think it could be argued that Following is definitely the upper echelon of Nolan films. I think it's very good.
I haven't seen it, but I have pre-ordered it.
I haven't either. I've bought this one, so
I should look forward to hearing what you think about it. Like, don't be expecting too much. It's literally him making with no money, but given that, I mean, you could see the man had talent. Had a lot of talent. Then a lot of run of 4Ks. So Sleepy Hollow. Any love for Sleepy Hollow?
I've got the 4K already.
Eventually.
I've got it in streaming.
See Christopher Walken's teeth.
Streaming, that's the way to go.
No, I bought it ages ago. Like, I just upgraded to streaming 4K eventually. Because I bought it in iTunes and they just upgraded it. Like, I didn't do anything.
I do the same as yourself, there, Peter. Like, I remember when Cool Hand Luke and Maltese Falcon were both, the 4K discs were released, and as you say, iTunes will automatically upgrade it to the latest one. They were on sale that day. They released for $3.99 each, and I was like, 25 quid for the 4K disc, 4 quid for the extras with the thing. Like, it's an absolute no-brainer at that stage. So I tend to do that a lot as well. Keep your eye on the iTunes store on a daily basis. Look for what's 4K. And what you can kind of watch.
You get the discs later on when it's cheaper, when it's down in price.
For sure.
That's what I tend to do with 4Ks I want. Is like, I might buy it in digital and then wait till it's on sale on disc. Because the disc's still better, but it's a good stopgap.
Yeah, indeed. So, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, I didn't see in the cinema. Both my kids have seen it and both raved about it.
Yeah, it's good fun. It's enjoyable.
I will pick that up because the first one just blew me away how good it was.
It is kind of amazing, and this one, as a visual spectacular, is supposed to be taking it up another notch as well.
Yeah, I like the first one more though, but this one's still good. It's one of those ones that's like, it's still a good film. It's just like, I think the first one is the surprise element. The second one, you can't really get as much. But there's a lot of good things in it though, so it's...
I'll watch it. It'll be on... Oh, right, okay. There. It's been put in its place.
Yeah. Indy 5, the worst film of the year so far, I think. I think it's still pretty much my worst.
Oh, dear. I thought you were making your play to be put in the Oscar nomination committee there, Peter.
No.
There you go. I put Batman Mask of Phantasm because I kind of have a soft spot for Batman animated.
Yeah, me too. I love Batman animated. I've managed to buy quite a few of them in iTunes, like in the box sets and things, and so you can rewatch them. And I've got the animated series all on Blu-ray, and it's gorgeous. I've got the Superman animated series on Blu-ray, so I've got the they're so well done. It's like, well, why wouldn't you want them? They're that well done.
Yeah, they're consistent, good quality.
Yeah,
I think that's the thing I'd say. But I mean, even have the 4K set of they only ever did volume 1 of that, but DC animated stuff. Damn, I don't know. Then Two Warner 100 must be new releases. I thought Interstellar was out in the box set beforehand. Surely, it was out in 4K beforehand. It was. This is a re-release. So Interstellar and Enter the Dragon, obviously, that the 4K that was missing from the Arrow set, they're doing standalone release of.
But if you bought it in iTunes early, you get it in 4K of an upgrade. Again, I've got the 4K upgrade.
I have Interstellar many years ago, bought in iTunes for that reason. Indeed.
No, I mean Enter the Dragon.
Enter the Dragon.
Interstellar I've got in 4K. I got it fairly cheap, but Enter the Dragon I've got in 4K through iTunes. It looks very nice.
And of course now,
very nice.
And of course now you can get the Criterion Bruce Lee box set really cheap as well.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, I just bought all the Bruce Lee ones now in Arrow. To put them out, you can buy most of them for like £4 when they were released, so I just grabbed them there.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really need the extras, I just wanted to see the films again.
I mean, can I be controversial and say, I can say this for most of the Shaw Brothers films as well. Once you've seen one, you've sort of seen a lot of them.
Yeah. Well, I think
Yeah,
Shaw
I've let the
Brothers.
Bruce Lee box set go. So.
Yeah. I think Shaw Brothers, they do a lot more variations. Bruce Lee is like, I always thought, yeah, he's good, but the films themselves are not that great, really. So I'd much rather watch a Shaw Brothers film because they're going to get a lot more. Because they had decent directors, and they actually could vary up, even though they're a formula, they could vary up. But
yeah,
Bruce Lee
try
wants
Deadly
quick
Venoms
audience.
and stuff.
And then we have from, I don't know if you have many of these, the Studio Canal Cult Classics line. That
Don't
it's
have
high
any, but there's a few
crime,
that I'm
extreme
interested about.
prejudice, Leany 101, and oh god, what do you call the John thing one?
Science
The
fiction.
Last Day on Earth, the science fiction one. Indeed, that's the one I was thinking about. But they have Blazing Magnum coming out this month. I'm a bit of a fan of that kind of set of films that they're kind of saying, right, we have these releases. They aren't vintage classics, but they are worth seeing. And we have a bit of Martin Landau, and any film I will watch. Space 1999 or otherwise. I just think he's amazing. And so this one is an Ottawa police captain searches for the person who poisoned his sister, who was attending the university in Montreal. So desperate is he for revenge that he begins to use his own brutal methods to find the killer. Soon he discovers that not everything is what he thought it was. I mean, how could you resist?
I mean, Martin Landau and Brutal don't really go together, do they?
No.
I mean, we're about to find out. He's the doctor. Dr. George Tracer. Oh, this is Gail Honeycutt's in it as well. I mean, this might be my release of the year, just on.
Yes.
He's going to slap some fools.
I can't wait to see Martin Landau do exactly that. That the 10 out of 10 film already, if that was to be the case. But I do love the artwork for it, where they have the picture of the disc, obviously, right, and then they showing the art cards, which of course are usually nobody wants, right, but they happen to have nearly the same size as the cover. A rather scantily clad member of the cast, just to say this is what you're getting here.
Martin Landau, scantily clad.
Yes, I mean,
well, this is getting weird.
And Brutal. That's like.
I'm surprised it's only,
clad.
I'm surprised it's only 15 quid. Sounds like they can charge a lot more for it. And then last but not least, a film that I've actually seen in the cinema. It's probably the only reason I have it in this list, which is Return to Seoul, which is coming out in movie. A story about a young lady who goes to Seoul to try and find her parents or her heritage. It's pretty good. I think Return to Seoul is
I haven't seen it yet.
Good.
But I've got a few films that this year that are like broken things I've got in iTunes I have not watched yet. So I've got a few films to watch before the end of the year that I need to watch. I've got there.
Yeah.
That are kind of the quality ones that
they
release on iTunes and don't realise they should actually charge more for them. You go, oh good, I'll buy it now when it's cheap and no one notices.
Yeah. Well, if you're willing to wait a month or two, all movie releases will be £12 and you'll be good to go there.
Yeah, so. And they do really nice slipcovers.
Oh, they are the best slipcovers. Nice double wall thickness and stuff.
Little colours in the spine for some reason. I really like their slipcovers. Not that I'm a slipcover aficionado or anything.
Yes. He has changed.
The feel of them is very nice.
You have definitely changed.
Yeah.
See, this is what happens when a man takes all of his Blu-rays off the shelf and puts them in a box. He starts to long for the physical aspect of touching slipcovers and
absolutely.
stuff.
Yeah. Basically, he's
like
moving to a warehouse so he can get all his DVDs in. That's what he's doing.
They're like Tony in Basement Blues and literally just have a video shop in the bottom of his house.
Yeah. Tell you, it's an impressive basement, though. Very impressive.
No one should say those words. It's impressive basement. That makes it sound like it's a serial killer basement. Like it's someone really sick.
If I tell you Martin Landau is scantily clad in that basement, that's what makes an impressive basement. Just be consistent.
The first time I saw one of his videos, I actually thought he was doing it from a shop. So.
The greatest shop ever. Oh yeah. So that's our new releases. That's what's coming out. There's a lot of things there that catch my eye that I haven't got the budget for at the moment. So it's mainly the BFI Gregory's Girl and the Second Sight stuff.
There's also another big Wicker Man 4K box.
Try not to think about it.
Or is that
no, it's out at the end of September. So it's £60 for the big version, which it has admittedly gorgeous artwork on the front of it. Has 5 discs or 4 discs or 3, whatever it is. A lot of discs, including the soundtrack, I believe, art cards and poster.
Yeah, that's like the imprint one.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, but not 4K. So, I mean, there is a steelbook version. I think it's a bit cheaper.
Yeah, Universal.
I'll see how I feel.
Yeah, Universal Noir's coming out later on next month, as well as Doctor Who. What is
season 20? Is it or 10? Is it? It's on 20. I think it is.
Yep, and Scream and Scream Again's coming out next month, which I pre-ordered.
Yes.
Well, left off Smile there in 4K. Film touted as greatest horror movie of the year.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about the 70s Bruce Dern film.
Not in this case, unfortunately not. Not in this case.
Is that not in Fun City editions?
Oh, yes, it could be indeed. Yeah. It is indeed. Yeah, no, I can see the cover in my head. Maybe it has a chance to make it through Radiance to these lovely shores of ours.
Never know.
You've also got there's one. I've noticed you've missed one.
I mean, this isn't like you.
Taxi Hunter.
Did I miss Taxi Hunter?
Yeah.
From 88, indeed. I will almost certainly pick up Taxi Hunter.
I pre-ordered it and I'm waiting for it to arrive. It's a category 3 film. What's the matter with you?
Yes.
I mean, ironic that you would ask me that one sentence after that. It's category 3 film. What's the matter with me? Yes. I seen what was the one that Robotrix, whatever way you want to call it. Have you not?
Not yet.
It's not very. It's not very often I look at a film and go, no, not for me. That was one of those films. There is a rather graphic murder in that film that I'm not sure is necessary. I can get the point.
Yeah, that's another buy I blame Hoos for, because he talked about it last year and I remembered, so it's all his fault again.
Maybe on a rewatch I blame him. Yeah, could be.
I mean, if he made more videos, I'd be really skint. I'm glad he doesn't make that many videos. I'd be in real trouble if he made more videos.
Indeed. That's Who's Seen or Touch a Film, if anybody's not aware.
Yes.
He has a tendency to highlight things that are either very expensive, imported from elsewhere, but also say that they're also essential purchases.
Yep.
So.
Yep. I bought the King Hu one, the Valiant ones, a few months ago that's cost a fortune from Hong Kong, all because of Hoos.
It does happen. Right, we'll move on to our showstopper. If you want the Something Borrowed, the film that when I asked Peter, pick it could be a personal favourite, could be something that you would just love to discuss. He picked it. Now, to give a bit of background, this is a film that is a solid 6.6 out of 10 on IMDb, has an 81% score on Rotten Tomatoes, and I picked some quotes from reviews around the time, and they included glowing references such as workmanlike and containing mild thrills. Script and direction and acting leave much be desired. We are, of course, talking about from 1966, the year that England took over the world. Dracula, Prince of Darkness. What made you pick Dracula, Prince of Darkness, Peter?
Well, I didn't know what the show actually was. You just sent me a rough outline of what you were going to do. So I was thinking...
well, to be fair, neither did we. That's fine.
Yeah. I mean, that was the thing. I was thinking, okay, you met me on my people. I cannot suggest something really strange. I mean, maybe if I go too far with this one. I don't want to push people into watching something really odd. So I'll just do a Hammer film just to start with, because that seems kind of safe but fun. And that was my only thought process. Like, I don't know, I don't want to offend somebody. I'll just have a Hammer film. That was my genuine thought process. It's like, I don't want to freak people out and actually have something that's really bizarre in case he's more than a few guests on.
Well, I have to say, I was very glad that you did, because we did Ensemble D last time, which was, it's a pretty serious movie. No matter what way you look at it, and I was like, can't all have serious movies, so I'm very glad that you picked Dracula, Prince of Darkness, and even though I've sort of made fun of it in the intro there, I'll be one to say, I quite enjoyed my time watching Dracula, Prince of Darkness.
Yeah, I actually was going to watch it anyway, and then you asked me, so I just thought that's another reason why it was this Hammer film. Was like I was going to watch it. My plan was to watch it anyway, and it was like, well, I guess that's chosen for me. It's like about Dracula, Prince of Darkness, because that's what I was going to watch.
It's fate.
So
I mean, I'll start off with a rather weird kind of observation. I mean, they do start with a montage of the 50th Dracula at the start of it. At the end, just to give it some context, to let you know that Dracula's dead and how he was killed by Cushing. Highlights the fact that Cushing isn't in this, and that Dracula will not be in it for most of it. As the case. That's a spoiler talk for anybody, but Dracula makes a reappearance.
It came before this one.
What's that, sorry?
Cushing was in Brides of Dracula.
Brides of Dracula, indeed, it was before this, and that's what they're going back to.
The Hammer fans think I'm ignoring Brides of Dracula. No, I'm not.
You can't ignore Brides of Dracula.
No. But the fact that they felt we need to either lengthen the runtime of this by putting this in at the front, and this sort of weird, like one of the things I found strange in the extras is when they talked about the vignette that they put it in. They had to put it inside the vignette because the original Dracula film was shot in a different aspect ratio than this one, so they had to do something in it. Yeah, indeed. So I thought that was quite interesting.
They had no money for the first one. They did more money for the second one. They could afford the 2, 3, 5 to 1. So it was like, oh yeah, we can actually afford to make it look like a good film.
So I mean, a lot of people would say that this is the archetype for everything that has to be in a Hammer film. Tick, 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 tick the whole way down. Which I think it's a bit reductive. I think there's a bit more to this than just being a sort of like by numbers.
No, I think the reason why that happened because it was such a good, solid entry. It was like it did everything right what it needed to do, and it was like, okay, we'll do that. We'll just do that. That's good. All that stuff works. Let's keep doing this because it's like obviously they got it right. So I think that was the thing. It was like, oh, we found the formula for these Dracula sequels now. Let's keep going. And to be honest, none of the sequels were as good as this one. Or the first one. These were basically the first 3 films, which was Dracula, Brides of Dracula, and this one. They're the best ones in the Dracula series. Although Taste of Blood of Dracula is quite good. And Scars of Dracula is quite awful, but really enjoyable.
As is Dracula AD 72.
Yeah. And Satanic Rites of Dracula, I have a soft spot for. Basically, I've seen way too many Dracula films in this series. Multiple times.
Yeah.
I can just say, if it's a template for going forward, then obviously Christopher Lee doesn't speak in this one, does he?
I know.
And so the template moving forward is don't give Christopher Lee any lines.
So that was what the point I was going to make. It's like, can you think in modern days if you had like this big massive star that was on the cover, it was the centerpiece of the marketing for the entire thing and never speaks in it? I mean, you could say, I can make a joke about John Cena or something and David Bautista in here if I wanted to, but we'll leave that one and say like it's sort of a brave one to do, and quite rightly or wrongly, he kind of came out battling to say, oh, the dialogue was so terrible, I refused to say any of it. And obviously Jim Sangster, who wrote it, said, I never wrote any. Believe who you like. I don't really care. But it is, he was a physical actor. Let's put it that way. He had a look about him.
You see,
I think in this one, he's actually scarier than the first one. He's more feral. He's more animalistic. Whereas the first one, he had class and debonair, whereas this one is just pure instinct and animalistic lust.
Yeah. Well, the thing with that story is basically apparently said to Peter Cushing, who's not in the film, and it was like, horrible dialogue, I'm not doing any of it, and it was, I think it's something like that, and then basically you're lucky I have to say some of this stuff, and he's not in the film. I'm not sure if it's that, or even a bit later on, but Sangster said, there's no place for me to say anything in this film, really, because his assistant does all the dialogue, and then when Dracula shows up, he's the killer, he's the intense thing, and as Ronin said, he's much scarier because he's just basically the Terminator with fangs. He's just out to get people, and that's it. And it's like, you don't need to say anything. His presence is there enough. I think the film he's referring to is actually Scars of Dracula, where he had some really bad dialogue, and he might have cut some of it down, but he still had some rubbish dialogue to say. I think it was that film he was talking about rather than this one.
This one, yeah. And you did mention it, but Philip Latham, who plays Clove, carries, I think, a lot of the this middle part of this film. With, I mean, again, another terrifically physical performance, and with both his face and his creepiness and his slinking around, classic Renfield kind of thing of just kind of moving around the house. And while the rest, I think most of the rest of the cast, you just spend most of your time shaking your head, going. People say, "Don't go near the castle." Oh, I say a castle. Don't go there at night. Oh, it's night. Oh, it'll be night soon. Let's go do this. It's honestly 101 of all the stuff that Scream ended up taking the piss out of many years later. To go in there and you kind of, by modern standards, you kind of go, "Oh God!" But at a certain time, we wouldn't have had an entertaining film without some of those poor decisions that happened along the way.
Yeah,
it's kind of
without that kind of film, there wouldn't be a Scream. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
No, but I mean, I think Christopher Lee described Hammer movies as like fairy stories rather than horror movies, which is kind of true. It's like, don't actually follow the logic of life, they're following like fairy tale logic, and it does seem like that's what they do. It's like, they're put in a situation where the guy just drops them off and says, "I'll take you back," or something, or whatever. He just drops them off, and it's like, well, partially the coachman's fault for just leaving them there. It's like, "I'll come back if you're alive tomorrow morning." It's like, well, that's... They haven't really left them with much options here.
That wasn't the extra in my ticket that I bought.
Yeah. And it's like, why can't you just drop them off in town, stay in the town? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Crap movie, as it turned out. If anybody had made a sensible decision in the first 15 minutes of this movie, it'd have been terrible.
Yeah. I should say, I watched in a projector, which was nice to actually see the projector and actually...
I was waiting. We are 1 hour 21 before Peter dropped in that he watched it in this projector. If anybody's got that in the bingo card.
Okay, thank you. I want the projector of a credit in this video. I want to just thank you for the projector.
Yes.
But it was just watching it. He's like, you see the atmosphere build up. It's like, it doesn't care about the plot. It's all about atmosphere. Terence Fisher directed it. He actually was just all about atmosphere. In the same way that John Carpenter was just all about atmosphere in Halloween. That can build up the whole thing's about the atmosphere. It's not really about the plotting so much. Plotting just gets you A to B, but it's really about the atmosphere of the build. And it's like you don't notice as much in TV, but if you actually see it projected, you do notice it. It's much more about, not about what they're saying, it's about how they're saying and how they move through the light. And so it does become something more powerful.
Yeah, I think because we all grew up, or for a certain age, watching them on television, you do kind of forget that they are cinematic when you do watch them on a projector, because we all saw them on television, basically.
That's right.
So you obviously don't get that sense of scale of things until you actually see them in a big screen.
Yeah, I noticed you don't mock Ronin's projector, you just mock mine's. I just want to point that out.
Does Ronin have a projector? I didn't even realise.
Oh, of course I do. It's packed now, though.
Well, we can just put it down to damn jealousy, and my guess is I don't have one.
I just want to point out, it's like, Ronin's a projector as well. I just bring it up because
I've had it for ages, though.
So that people know that that's... I'm talking about the
that's the way that you watched it. Yeah.
It is what I'm talking about certain things you might not see on TV.
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
The difference between the TV watching and projected.
Yeah.
Because people obviously might think they're very stagey and they're kind of set bound and stuff because they kind of use the same set and just move curtains about.
Yeah.
Very ingeniously, but they are cinematic.
Yeah. And you see them going down the stairs slowly to the bit where they kill him. It's like, it's really wonderful. It's like, this obviously influenced John Carpenter, just the way they move the camera and things. It obviously influenced him. Because he mentioned he loved Hammer films, and now when you see them the way they were shot properly, it's like, oh, I can see the influence there straight away with Carpenter in the 70s. You can see just how Terence Fisher moved the camera that obviously influenced Carpenter, really. And it's like, it just jumps out at you. And in TV, it doesn't really, you don't notice it. And it's like
I was going to say, I really like the point you make about Carpenter, because this probably more than any other Hammer movie that I can basically see this as a Carpenter movie. Carpenter could have made this in a lot of ways, and especially the reincarnation scene. You know, it's kind of amazing. I can't think of a better reincarnation scene until maybe, or change scene until maybe something like a American Werewolf. Many in the 80s after that.
Yeah,
it's kind of an influence on the Hellraiser reincarnation from Floorboards.
Yeah, no, I mean Hellraiser. I mean, basically, Clive Barker was a horror fan. He was like, "I'm doing a Hammer Resurrection." That's pretty much it. It was like, It was. He wasn't even hiding it. He was just like, "I'm doing it. Let's do it with modern special effects. Let's do it." And then you see it.
I mean, obviously it was. Yeah, I mean, obviously it was made in '66, so we kind of look at it through jaded eyes. But I remember the first time seeing it on the television, and that bloodletting scene at the start where he's hanging, that was like brutal. And I'm sure at the time that was like brutal.
I mean, even in blockbuster films, I mean, if you see something like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man films, they're very influenced by those Hammer films, the way they shoot people, and the resurrection of Sandman, the third one, is basically Dracula resurrection scene done with CGI, but it's still the same kind of moody music and everything else. And like Raimi kind of loves all that old horror stuff, so he'd know all those conventions. So it has filtered through to the mainstream. I mean, might not notice it, but it's always there. It's always like, I mean, you look at George Lucas; he was putting Hammer stars in his film with the Star Wars films, and
that's true.
And basically, the end of Revenge of the Sith, where Anakin becomes Darth Vader, that's a Hammer scene. That's completely a Hammer scene. There's no way you can hide the influence of that one. And Peter Jackson with the Lord of the Rings films, lots of very Hammer influenced stuff in the way you see the world built. You know, all the little hobbits and all the stuff. It feels like a small village that could have been a Hammer film.
Absolutely. I hadn't really thought of that, but again, as soon as you say it, I can kind of see the scenes from each of these films in my head going, you know what I'm saying, right? I was sort of surprised because I went back and rewatched it a couple of times, the reincarnation scene, going, I expected it to not be as well done, if you know what I mean. You know, think back to 66, the kind of time it was done, you'd expect to see the letters and the joins quite clearly. In this case, you know, the lengths that they went to do it, I think it's so well done. I really was very surprised going back and rewatching it now to kind of say to myself, oh, the level of detail they went to in that reincarnation scene and building the layers up was something that I didn't expect, you know?
Yeah, because they use reverse photography and everything, just purely so you feel it's getting pulled out, but it's really getting pushed in, and they do it very gradually, and that's to let the atmosphere build up, because you actually see them cutting the throat and everything else slowly, so you just see it as they do it tastefully, but you're so focused on certain things, it just builds the details up, so that when they do the special effects, you might be able to figure it out if you were thinking, but you've already been bludgeoned by the death and they're cutting the throat, that you're not really thinking about the other stuff, and it's like, it can just happen to you, it can just feel much more naturalistic. It's just good filmmaking.
Yeah, that's for
Hammer's
sure.
blood is really, really red.
Yeah,
in Technicolor. What?
Nobody's blood is like Hammer blood.
Well, Dario Argento seemed to love that stuff, though, because, I mean, look at Suspiria. That's Hammer blood he's doing.
Hammer blood, for sure.
Yeah, he's going full Hammer blood with that.
I like how you've rescued this, Peter. You basically went from the film that was called Workmanlike and Mild Thrills. Now it's now been responsible for every big genre movie for the next 50 years, 60 years afterwards. This is cleverly done.
I mean, I'm modest in my proclamation.
You have to remember, critics generally don't get stuff at the time.
Yeah.
You look at the thing, speaking of Carpenter.
Yeah, I mean, I think what he's trying to say is critics are kind of morons half the time.
Especially with genre films.
Yeah, they
genre
really don't
films
get
are looked down on, so and it's not proper films if you're doing horror or fantasy.
Yeah,
I mean, you'll find this hard to believe, but Robot Jocks wouldn't have been greatly liked at the time either. You know,
Nope.
Would we have had Pacific Rim without a Robot Jocks? I'm not sure.
Oh, so tourist, so probably
That was the first thing I
actually.
thought of.
He's probably watched all the
Just catching moving.
60s Japanese films.
That's true. He's very Godzilla based, but anyway, yeah, for sure.
So in your notes you had, it was a double bill with Plague of the Zombies.
Yes, indeed. So in some countries they put the two of them together to try to generate more money, because it did make money. It made quite a decent amount of money. This film, for Hammer.
But do you know that it was shot back to back with Rasputin the Mad Monk, and Plague of the Zombies was shot back to back with Reptile. So basically, the two films, two of the Fisher ones were shot. Then they shot the John Gillian ones, and they basically put one of each together as the double bill. So these were the A film double bill, and the Gillian films were the B films. But all four films were really good, and it was like,
yeah,
it was like one of those ones. It was like, well, that was spectacular. Every film turned out well. What's the hell?
But for such a Morel should have been in the lead in more films.
Yeah. Yep. But I think it's funny how Hammer, for being such a famous studio, were always living film to film, if you know what I mean. There were such tight margins all the time for them making any profit, and yet their legacy, like so many years later, is of a much larger studio in operation than it ever was, you know. So the things that they had to do to give it a certain look, which is ultimately to its detriment, you know, as it came to the end of its run, that they sort of had the same look, the same sets, the same locations, etc. But they're also the things that identify it as being classic this many years later.
Yeah,
I mean, production design, the scores were fantastic.
There's a style. Every production, like, era has their own style. Like, we do it this way, and they all come together. And they're shooting the same locations all the time because that's what the land they own or the land have access to.
Yeah.
They have to reuse the sets because they have a limited budget because they're pre-selling the films to like America and other places.
Heck,
so
their
money comes in by the pre-sales. And it's like, well, we have to have a few films do well so we can pre-sale it. And then those Hammer films, the Draculas with the pre-sale thing later on, is like, we've got a Dracula. You buy a Dracula, you get these other few films with it, and they can get to make the films they want to make in between. Like some of the weirder ones. So it was just the way they did the business. Or the Frankenstein, they could pre-sell amidst these other films and they could make money off that. It's just a studio system where there's like, there are one or two hits and the rest of the time it's like, well, hopefully these other films do well. And it's just the way filmmaking works.
So,
and you just had to have technicians that could work quick and work fast and plow through it.
Yeah, I mean, just be inventive with what you've got. And if actors understand
we don't have money, how do we do it? As opposed to we've got all the money in the world, we can do what we like.
Yeah, and it still looks cheap.
Yeah.
A lot of times CGI just looks cheap and lazy. It's like,
absolutely.
Just because you have a budget doesn't mean you know how to do it, like to make it look right. Because a lot of old films, they used to have like, you'd use one technique, then another technique, then another technique, and it'd cut together so your eye would not get a chance to see what the trick was.
What was happening? Yeah.
And nowadays CGI, you know what the trick is because you don't really hide anything because it's just CGI. I remember even when James Cameron was talking about the Terminator films and things, he did in the 90s, where the trick always was to switch technique shot to shot, so you never had a chance to figure it out. And he was really, because he's an effects guy, he was always really careful with that. So he'd always, your eye would always be tricked in different ways, so you would never spot the joke, spot the gag of how he did it. Which is a style that's just gone out of fashion. People just don't know how to do it anymore.
Indeed. Sad in a lot of ways, but those kind of practical effects, and like, as you say, the production design, every time I see a Hammer film, I always go, there's just something about this that is a lot better than I think people sell it as, you know, because they reused or whatever further down the line.
Well, I think that's now coming back into fashion. Well, people enjoy practical effects a lot more now. There's like, now there's a complaint, that's too CGI, I don't want this anymore. Give me some practical that looks dangerous. And
well, there are some film franchises which, if they go all CGI, they're basically dead in the water. Like James Bond went very heavy CGI, more so than practical effects and practical stunts for a while, and it was almost the death of that entire franchise, you know, in some ways, until they decided to come back and let's do a lot of this, you know, as it was quick cutting and hand-to-hand combat as it was to kind of get back to a practical sense of it.
Yeah, I mean, the John Wick film was like, one of the reasons why people like them is like, that looks like people get hurt doing this. This looks like
very visceral.
This is brutal.
Yeah, John Wick's a great example. Yeah, John Wick's a great example of a film I went in watching thinking I was going to hate it. Yeah. And after about 20 minutes, felt myself completely swept away, and kind of the world and the very subtle world building. The world building comes in later films, but they kind of set it up very nicely. But kind of said, "Oh, it was always there. You just didn't know to look for it," you know.
Yeah. It's very Sergio Leone influence in the sense of there's a world and you expand, but it's always like slightly over the top world, but it's realistic enough so you can buy into it, and but then you can do crazy stuff in it.
So Hammer responsible for the John Wick films as well. I mean, you've done an absolutely smash up job here.
I don't think I've made that. I think I was more you than me.
I think it was more. But a genuinely great choice, because I don't know when the next time I would have watched Dracula Prince of Darkness again if you hadn't brought it up. So
basically, John Wick does look a bit like Christopher Lee and Rasputin and Mad Monk, though. If you want to go there.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah, model his look on there as well. Yeah. Keanu Reeves would be nobody without Christopher Lee. There's the headline. I'm going to use that
as Yes, I did okay for a film I chose pretty much at random, because it was like, oh god, what did I choose? That was pretty much what I thought for it. What?
It chose you.
Yeah,
indeed.
Maybe.
So, very enjoyable, and I think very, like I say, when I put it out there to kind of say pick a film, I knew anything could come back, Peter, and it was like, like I say, I was glad when he came back with something that was like, right, okay, this is very different from probably what's going to come before and after, because there's a lot to talk about and discuss about that, and to celebrate about Prince of Darkness, you know.
Yeah, I didn't want to do anything too. I suspected Ronin to be on as well. I thought he's definitely going to do something that's a bit more serious.
I mean, I wouldn't have thanked you if you'd have said 10 Commandments and all 19 hours that is the 10 Commandments. You know, as much as I love that film in a lot of ways, I've been like, oh god, right.
Yeah, no,
2 hours per commandment.
I just I wouldn't do it to anyone else. That's my cross to bear. See, I
see what you did there.
Yeah, well done.
It tells you my psychological state from doing some of these biblical epics.
Dude, more to come.
Only you had a symbol there, Chris. You needed a symbol next to you.
Indeed. So that's our film for this week, and that's our episode for this week. All that's left to do is for me to let my wonderful guests introduce themselves, where you can find them, where you can hear their controversial opinions going forward. So, Ron, you can go ahead. Go first.
I'm Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and that's where you can find me on YouTube. I'm not really on anywhere else, like MySpace, that you kids seem to have be members of. So Solitary Ronin Films, that's where you can find me.
Okay, you find me Nazarinprod and Hill. And Nazarinprod.
The box put itself back together.
Yeah, Nazarinprod Productions. Nazarinprod, actually. My brain's melting now. You can catch me on YouTube. You can catch me and Ronin, our backlog of films as well, at Ronin Nazarin. It's on our channel. We've done lots of bizarre videos, and you know, that's pretty much where you find me.
Nice. See, that's what hell does to you. It's that warm. It starts to fry your brain.
I know.
And you can find me on this channel if you're watching it here, or if you're listening to this on Spotify or otherwise. My name is Chris Mohan. You can find me on that channel. Next time up, our film that has been chosen by our guest, I'll not tell you who the guest is Moonlighting, not the Sybil Shepherd, Bruce Willis TV show, but the film by Jersey Skull and Muskie. And catch you next time.